vintage camera collectors. Today I want to talk about a recent acquisition in the Pentax line. I found this at a thrift store, and it was in a box with a bunch of other cameras behind the counter. It wasn't even in one of the display cases, nothing like that. And it was $14.99. Let's see what we got in here. Actually, I've cleaned it up and worked on it. So this is a Pentax K, 1957 to 58. And this is their earliest pentaprism 35mm SLR. And this is the form factor that everybody got used to right through to the K1000 series and beyond. This is quite a camera. It's heavier than a K1000. This thing is all metal. There's not a plastic part on it. Anything that looks like plastic is actually painted metal. And I've got a Super Takumar 1.8 to 55 on it, just because I had this lens. But it actually came with this interesting lens. This here. This is a Carl Zeiss Jena Tessar 3.5-50. And it's a screw mount lens, much smaller lens. I believe it's a 4-element lens. It cleaned up really well. There's really no film on the lens or anything like that. It was just very, very stiff, the f-stops and the focusing. But I loosened that up with Handyman's secret weapon, Zippo lighter fluid. And some alcohol to clean the lenses. This thing here was very dirty. Maybe let's just pull it out of the case, just so you can get a better look at it. Fits very tightly. We'll let that go. So, much thicker bottom plate than the later ones. A little bit of scuffing from a tripod. Listen how nice the action is on this. I'll wind it. That sound familiar? Sounds like a Spot-O-Matic. Yeah, it's got an FP and an X contact. It's got two shutter speed wheels. The top one is 1/30th and higher. And this is the slow speed wheel, 1/30th of a second down to T, which is time. They changed that on later models. But actually, once you get used to it, I mean, how many times do you shoot on a 1/30th of a second? Not very often. The major speeds that you would use, 1,500, 250, 125, are right where you want them. And it actually pulls up and locks on speed. And one thing about these Pentax that have the rubberized cloth curtain that I've found, you can tell when they're in trouble by going through the shutter speeds. So this one here, so I'm down to 1/60th. So let's drop it right down to one of the super low ones. So we'll go down to the low speed wheel. We'll set it to 2, so that's half a second. Do you hear the little thing that sounds like a timer? Well, that's the clockwork mechanism of the shutter. All brass gears on this one. And it actually times out. I timed it out using an app on my computer. And it's as close as you're going to get it. What I find, if you're looking at one of these to buy, fire it at the lowest speeds, 1, 2, 4, 8, 15. And if there's any hesitation in it at all, you've got a sticky shutter. And I tell you, it's not an easy thing to fix. I've taken a few of these different ones apart. So this is like, I say, it was just dirty. It has somebody put light seals on it, which I find kind of amazing. Fairly recent, like they're still nice and springy felt light seals. Somebody loved this camera and kept it going for years. So let's just fire it at 1,000. Yeah, just like no hesitation. No light meter on this, no hot shoe. That's something that came later. You know, it's actually not even a big deal to take a flash shot with one of these. You have a light plastic flash. What I've done is I plugged the cable into the X contact, 060X, and just held it beside the camera. Gonna click like that. How many flash pictures do you take these days? Most of your stuff's outdoors, at least for me. The other thing about these, The S and the K, some of them don't have an auto diaphragm. So you need to set this to manual on here. This lens doesn't even have it, the pin that actuates the mechanism. So this one you don't have to worry about it. You just set it wherever you want. But if you want to look through the viewfinder at full open, you actually have to go full open, focus, stop down. Now some people say, well, that's hard, I gotta look at the camera. Actually, I just count them, 5.6. You know, you get used to it. I rarely use a light meter when I'm doing outdoor photography, if I'm shooting like Ilford 100 or 400. Anyway, just thought you'd find that interesting. In the box, I actually got a Spot-O-Matic next. The early version, 64, 65, no hot shoe. I'm going to see how that one works. And it's got the 1.4 Takumar lens with thorium coating, which is fairly rare. Anyway, we'll do a little something on that one later.